Right, this is probably gonna be mega long. I might split it up into two videos, three videos possibly, but it will probably be very, very long in the end. Oh well. So I wanted to do it outside, but then I realized I also wanted to show you some stuff, and it's also we had like 2 days of sun and now it's gone. But that's completely irrelevant. So, um, first of all, obviously it's the 2.5 years update. 2.5 years of learning Korean every single day for at least, even on busy days, an hour, 2 hours, like 2 hours probably minimum, because you can just fit in some listening at any point, like anytime you want, you can fit in listening, which I realized from early on. So it was very easy to get the hours in, like no matter what. So these updates, I see a lot of people doing monthly updates or like 3 months updates, which is actually not many people. People tend to be doing 1 month, 2 month, 3 month updates like every month. And for me, in Korean, it takes so long to learn that it doesn't really make much sense. Like obviously, it's okay for these people to do it, and maybe it's better at the start. So when you're in the first year, it's probably better than like doing 2 years and 1 month, 2 years and 2 months, because at once you're like past a certain stage, maybe a year and a half, you've hit the point where you're just immersing in content, or you're just talking with natives and immersing in content. Like there's not a lot you can do. There's not a lot that changes. All you're going to be updating is what you're doing and not really how you feel, because how you feel is so slow to change. If this was a different language, say Spanish, Italian, French, and you were 2 years in, you would probably just be able to see the biggest difference, like unimaginable difference. Like you could speak fucking amazingly well, and you can do pretty much anything you want to do, and you can understand like most things. But there's just so many differences that, like the different idioms, different ways of thinking, different, like even the word order. Obviously, to be honest, that's not really that big of a deal, but everything just added together, and even just basic things that don't exist in English, and things that do exist in English but don't exist in Korean. Like any language, like Chinese, um, Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, all these, even though you might think they're easy in some way, they have difficulties of they are just so different. Like fundamentally they're different. It's just a different origin, it's a different way of thinking. And I think if you're born to a parent with both of these, like you just have so much more of a vast knowledge of like, and so, like two completely different ways of thinking. If you actually get them to a high level, obviously if you're just like still at a kid level of one of them, you're probably not going to have that. But and the same would probably be for Arabic as well, because they're like three different like areas, and there's probably other language families that this can happen to as well, that aren't from the same predecessors. So um, that's my thoughts on the updates that people are doing. And what do I think about updates in general? Well, I think it's good for people to share how they feel about where they are at the time, because people are going to feel completely different. And even 1 month ago, I feel completely different mentally, not so much with the language, but mentally different. So you can have like 1 month where you're feeling great, and then a month where you're feeling down. Usually it comes in like 2 weeks. I find that if you have a really low point, you'll then have 2 weeks later, you'll have a really high point. You're like, yeah, I'm understanding everything, even though obviously you're not understanding everything. And then you also have on top of that, your understanding of the language is changing, but it's changing so slowly that you don't even realize. So it's not until you start looking back that you realize how far you've come. I might need to take a drink in between this because it's going to be quite long. So you need to look back to see how far you've come, and especially with Korean, because it takes so long. You're gonna need to do that to even feel like okay. Otherwise, you're gonna feel horrible like most of the time, because you're not going to be making progress um as quick as you would like, or as well as you would like, and you're never going to be as good as you would like in a small time frame. So we're talking like you need to be learning for like 5 to 10 years to really feel like you know the language. Like that's how long it's going to take. So I wouldn't even get confused about oh yeah, 2 3 years I'm going to be the best, because anyone you look at online, anyone, literally anyone on YouTube, if they've been learning for less than 2 years or even 2 years and they are good, it's either they are good at speaking with cuts and maybe with a script, but with cuts, maybe this is all they've done is speaking. They can't understand most TV shows or anything because they use way too many words. So they'll either be really good at that, or you'll be on my spectrum, which is literally you understand a fair amount, not everything, but you understand a fair amount, but you're just not very good at speaking and whatever. But because 2.5 years or even 2 years, 3 years is not that long of a time frame, and the only people I've seen 2 3 years are Japanese people, and that's because the languages are so similar and there's so many similar words. This is what we would have if we were learning French, Spanish, Italian, Norwegian, something like that. You would be able to make those same gains. So it might be worth either doing one of those first or one of those afterwards, just to like compare. Like you'll have such a better comparison. Maybe you'll feel it's easier to go to the easiest language afterwards because it'll just be so easy and so quick, and you'll be picking everything up, and everything's so familiar, everything's so similar. Or you do the easy one first, get used to it, get used to speaking, get used to everything. You've got confidence to speak. You're used to speaking a different language, and you're used to noticing things because you've learnt that skill first. And then you go into Korean, and then it takes you 3 years, 4 years, and you're just banging it out because you already have the experience and confidence to know that you can do it. Whereas if this is your first language and you're 4 years in, you still might not even have that confidence that like, all right, this works. This works. I know how to learn a language, and that's what you need to like continue to tell yourself, because it takes so long. If you've never actually achieved the point you want to achieve, you will never be satisfied, and you'll continually have to like motivate yourself to keep going. So um let's move on. So I'm going to go through everything that I've done, although obviously I'm going to skim over some bits, but I'll just try and get like the major things that I think are worth pointing out. So to start with, even before I started, or well, maybe like as I was starting, a lot of my time was spent watching like YouTubers like Luca and all the like a lot of the polyglot YouTubers, just to see what they were doing and like how they were doing it, and what they were saying is like good advice. And then when the good advice is matching up between like 5 different people, maybe that's good advice. So I just ended up with the method of doing some grammar, and then that's while I was watching YouTube videos and stuff and whatnot to learn how to learn. So now I think I've picked up how to learn, but this was while I was doing grammar and stuff. So this is why it took me a bit longer to get into what I think is a good way to learn. So first of all, I started with grammar. I went through Talk to Me in Korean. The website has now changed, but I went through all of it. I went through all of it. I also went through Korean Made Simple, which I haven't got up here. So the Korean Made Simple books by Billy Korean Go Billy. Yeah, so Korean Made Simple books. I went through all 3 of those twice, I think. So I went through those, and then I went through Talk to Me in Korean again, and then I went through these again, and then I went through Korean Grammar in Use Beginner, Korean Grammar in Use Intermediate, and then a bit after that, I bought no, the first book I bought was the 500 Words by Talk to Me in Korean. I'm not even going to bring it up because it's just a waste of time, but I got that, and then that was what I put into Anki. So I put these into Anki because I thought, damn, this is a good idea, and I literally bought that like the same day I started learning it. It came like a week afterwards or something, but I wasn't really like full on into it at that point. So when this book arrived, this was when I was like 100% into it, doing it every single day. So I put all these into Anki. So I would do the grammar, and then I would just put all these into Anki. It didn't take me long. I put the audio on and everything, and then that was the 500 word stick that I shared on the Anki website and on the Google Drive and whatnot. So I did that at first, and then I realized, oh, I need more words because 500 words is nothing. Even there's more than 500 words in that book, and you get like stories and everything. And I realized very quickly that 500 words in a language with like barely any cognates is absolutely nothing. So then uh, I got the 2000 words intermediate by Derek One, 2000 words intermediate and beginner. And what I did was is I went through those as well, and I put the Korean grammar in use beginner and intermediate both into Anki, and I also put these 2000 words beginner and intermediate because when I was using it, I realized how good the sentences were. Like I thought, oh my god, these sentences are so short and so easy. Like look how short these sentences are, and I thought, oh, they'll be great to just go through Anki with. And then like if there's words you don't know, you can just look them up anyway. So even in the book, there's no translations. So that's why there's no translations on the cards because you don't need it. My goal was to understand Korean as it is, like with no translations, just understanding the sentences and understanding what is attempting to be said, which is good in a sense. So I was still doing this, and then I finished that, and then I wanted to look for something to read, and I think I ended up finding. I think this was about 6 months in. I ended up finding these history books, and they were on Ready Select. Where is it? There you go. So on Ready Select, they were on here. So I ended up reading all five of these. But my girlfriend was also she came over to England for a month in May, 2019, 18. I can't remember now. 2019 it would have been because I started in 2018. Yeah. So I went through these one, two, three, four, and five, and I think I finished in around June or something. And then because I had Ready Select, I thought, oh, I wonder what else is on here. So I picked up these other books. So these three here are like short stories. So it's like a bunch of short stories. Obviously, this at this point it was way above my level. I hadn't done any like Yonsei reading or anything like that. I'd literally just read these history books. I know they're quite simple, but there's a lot of words in there, and I ended up with like loads of words that I didn't know, and I'd written them down on a sheet and everything and whatnot. But then I realized because they were PDFs, you couldn't highlight stuff. But then now that you can highlight stuff on these ebooks, it made things a lot easier. And it was basically how I developed the way, like my process of reading, which is just to read and then highlight stuff, and then like afterwards I will look it up. But I ended up reading these two completely, which is why they've got so many words, and they're decently long books, like 300 pages or something like that. And then Norang Muni Yongwon, this is a Hangang book, the one who wrote Vegetarian and something else as well. But she's quite famous. But this was on there. I don't know if it's still on there. But I only got most of the way through this, and I'm glad I stopped. And then I started reading these history book, not history books, the classic books. So like classics, all sorts of classics. It's made by the same company who did the history books, and it's also a set of 50, but they don't have 50 on the Ready Select. So I just read all the ones that were there, and I think this took me from September. So it's on here. I went from September 2019, which is when I started Oliver Twist, but I wasn't tracking stuff at this point. It wasn't until October when I started tracking like how many pages I was reading because I was attempting to read so many pages, like 30 pages, and then I wasn't even looking at the time. I was just reading 30 pages and then okay, I'm done at this point. So I started this in September, and then since then I went through all of them, and then I finished them in when did we go? I finished them. Uh, Almond, Rigid Bakery. Yeah, here. So I finished them in April 2020, and at this point, I was reading them quite quick as well. Like I was reading like 50 pages or something, like easily, like a day. And then this one, 2000 Leagues Under the Sea or something. I literally read that in 2 days. Even though you can see, I was planning to read them in like 30, like 30 pages a day. But then I literally just sat down and read them all, like read most of it, and then read most of it again. And then I was doing it in 4 days, and then I moved on to let's go back here. So you got all these. There was about 38 in total out of the 50 that were on Ready Select, and I think they're still on there. So then I finished them, and then I read Wandugi, Wizard Bakery, and Almond, which are free like novels. And then there wasn't too many words in them, but for some reason, I think Wandugi was the one. I could understand the most of, and then these two, it's like I just don't remember them at all. I can't remember a single thing that happens in them, and then um, yeah, that's about it. So I just can't really remember what happens in them. One sec. Sorry, a bit hurt your ears. Anyway, so after that, so I read these three novels, and then I think about 6 months later, I'd like completely forgotten like what happens. So then I started reading Nahonzaman Deborah because there is also a webtoon, and I started reading the webtoon before, and I thought, damn, this is good. And then I found out that it was a web novel as well. So I literally just read all of these over the summer. When I first started reading them, I was reading them alongside the web novel, um, the webtoon. So I was reading the webtoon, and I was reading the web novel at the same time. And then obviously, um, I had got past the part of the web novels, the webtoon, so I just carried on reading anyway. And then I started reading some book one. So there was this one, Barbarian Quest, Yuri Eshin, and then this one is like a Muhyop novel, yeah, which is like, I think it's called Wuxia or something like that, but like martial arts. And that was like extremely fucking difficult. Like I didn't really know what was going on like a lot of the time, because a lot of the words, so a lot of the highlighted words, even though there's only 200, a lot of them are like made up words, like just two hands just stuck together, and then because it's a Chinese translation or something. So Muhyop I would just avoid, because it's absolutely solid, because the amount of made up words, unless you know Chinese or Japanese, or you know like all the hanja ever, like knowing half the meaning of the words is quite difficult. So then I read Kill the Dragon, and then a couple other ones. I didn't think these ones were that good, and then I continued Barbarian Quest, even though I'd read book one. I thought I like this guy, like the writer, so I thought, damn, I'm going to read this as well. So this took me ages. How long was I reading this for? Where the fuck have I gone? I'm lost. All right, here we go. Yeah. So when did I start reading this? Was in all that was through over the summer, and then here was Barbarian Quest. The first one was August, and then Kill the Dragon was September. October was when I started Barbarian Quest 2. Yeah, I started the end of it, finished 2, started 3, and then November, December, and then I can't remember whether there was 12. So it came into January 2021. So I literally finished it this year. The start of this year, I just finished the last two books. And then Ajik Saraita, started that. That was honestly not very good. Although it was okay in a learning sense, but there wasn't that many words to learn, and it was also, it was kind of hard to like not follow what's going on, but the writing is just really bad, and like it just kind of like shifts from one place and flies to another and all this. So I finished that. There is a part two, but I just don't want to read it. I just thought, you know what, part one's enough for me. I'm done. And then I read this manga Miss Hungisa. That was actually not difficult, but the guy knows so many words, and you can see the way he's using the words and the way he's using the grammar. He knows so much grammar. Like I think I found about 3 or 4 new grammar forms that I'd literally never seen like while I was reading this. And then I want to read the full thing, even though it's quite long. I know it's only 8 volumes, but the books are quite long. But I think I will read this later on, like much later on, because it was actually kind of hard, and I think that in the future it will just be a better experience. And then Mudunga Shiharam Down Bun. This is just some random romance novel that I found on the Ready Select, because I wanted to fill like a couple of days on the last couple of days just to fill here, so I could start Dragon Raja. So this guy's books, Iyong Do. I'm gonna read like most of his books on Ready, because they're all on Ready Select. So I'll probably just end up reading most of them for like this year. Alright, so that's pretty much everything I've done in reading, except a couple webtoons. So I read Timbo mostly, and also video games. What did I play? Pokemon. Uh, what's it called? Pokemon Let's Go when that first came out. Pokemon Sword and Shield when that first came out. Fire Emblem. I played that more recently because I couldn't understand like a lot of the words back when it came out in like 2019 or something like that. I couldn't understand most of the words. So Fire Emblem, and then now I'm still playing Bravely Default 2, and that is relatively easy, relatively good for learning words for me at least at this point. Even though a lot of them are fantasy words, and obviously a lot of the things I've read are like fantasy stuff. So that's like that's like my domain kind of thing, is like fantasy books and fantasy whatnot. So listening. So oh no, let's do watching first. Okay, so watching. Um, I watched a lot of. I've lost it, but High Kick. So I watched High Kick when I first started. I watched High Kick 1. So this one is High Kick 1. So I watched High Kick 1 once with subtitles, English subtitles, and then I watched High Kick 2 with English subtitles, and then I went back to High Kick 1 with no subtitles, and then I watched High Kick 2 with no subtitles, and then I watched High Kick 3 twice in a row. I think, or no, I watched High Kick 3, and then I watched Kamjabyeol, which is over here somewhere. So Kamjabyeol, I watched this, and then I went back to High Kick 3, and then I think it's on here. Where's the sheet gone? So it should be on here in 2020, or 2019. So 2019 will have the first time I watched Kamjabyeol. Yeah, there's Kamjabyeol. It just took me forever to watch the first time because I was at work and I just couldn't be bothered to watch when I come home because I had to finish reading and make food and whatnot. And then here I just started like blasting out. Even though I was at work, I just started blasting out every night. And then I watched High Kick 3 again, Kamjabyeol again, and then I watched the Reply series, which honestly I can't even suggest doing. I literally took me like 2 months. What did I watch? Rugar in between that, a movie, and then I started Reply at the end of May, and then that took me absolutely like forever. And then I watched Sondong Yoan, which was like a historical drama kind of thing, but it was apparently it was like really popular back in the day. And then I started High Kick 1 again, and then this was when I was watching this, I realized like, wow, this I can understand so much. Like there was so much I could understand. Like I would say it was almost like 85-90% I was understanding like most of what was going on. Like I understand what was 100% of what was going on, but I didn't understand exactly what was being said 100%. But maybe next time, I don't actually, maybe even next time, I don't think I will understand 100%, but you just get closer and closer. So I watched a small, what they called YouTube drama, no, short drama, I forgot what they're called, mini drama, XX, and this, I didn't like it. I don't know what it was. Just the way that people speak is like really muffled, and like, I don't know why it's so hard to understand what they're saying, but that's just the way it is. When was this? July 2020, so this was coming through the summer, and then I watched, finished that. Mulduig Hajime, that was pretty good until the last few episodes. High Kick 2 again, and then I wasn't playing any games or anything, so at night I would watch a movie, and I literally watched like most of the movies. Yeah, I really recommend Toon, and I will not stop recommending it until someone else watches it. Teguki Hinalimyo as well. That was really good. Similar to Saving Private Ryan, war movie. I really enjoyed it. Watched a bunch of movies. What happened then? High Kick 2, finished that. High Kick 3, Noe Dung Jage Smashing, which is another the same like what's it called? Director, the same director. Um, kept watching, and then here in October was when I started the longest TV show on the planet. So I watched Pokemon number 1, and then I couldn't get number 2 working, so I was watching Sunfung Sambunga for literally October, November. Sorry. And then I watched Sweet Home with my girlfriend recently, but I put that on the thing anyway because that's Korean. So I was still watching Something Samugga every single day, 400 episodes, still watching it, all the way up until February 2021. 682 episodes, very long. By the time I'd actually got to the end of that, I felt like I was understanding so much more than when I first started. So that was good. But I don't know whether it was just I was understanding, I'd got used to the way that they talk, or whether I just got used to like the audio quality, or whether I just improved in general, which obviously is going to happen when you're just doing Korean every single day, like at least like 4 hours, 5 hours every single day. You're going to get better. So I finished that, and now I started Wenman의 산 그들을 막을 수 없다. So this one is also like 278 episodes. So 승승장구가 Wenman의 산 this one is 278, I think, or 294 maybe. It's not that long, so there must be some special episodes in between. Okay, so that's basically everything I've watched, other than like YouTube videos and whatnot, stuff like that. Just on the side, YouTube videos, maybe some movies and whatever. Like it would take too long to go into that. So for listening, when I first started, the audio for these books, so Easy Korean Reading, I actually bought this book like probably less than a month in, like 2 or 3 weeks in. And I ordered it with this one as well, Real Life Korean Conversation. So I ordered this and ordered this together. And I would listen to this audio because I was watching a lot of Motivate Korean, and he was like, "Oh, the repetitive listening is like amazing." So I literally listened to this one so many times. Like there's so many words that I'd never forget, like chimen, engmuse, and stuff like that. There's probably more, but I haven't seen them for a while, probably, or I can't really remember what the entire contents were. So it's obviously been like 2 years since I even listened to this. But if I listened to it, it would probably sound really familiar. So I did this for like a few months, and then I started doing the real life conversations one because I was just bored of the other one. And then this one was like they're like 1 to 2 minute clips, like 30 clips. So it's actually really good for repetitive listening. I'm gonna take a drink. Oh, so it's actually really good for repetitive listening. But I feel like I should have done it for longer. When I think back, I feel like I should have done it longer. But the thing was, um, I started. I was under the impression that if I just listened to literally anything, it was a good idea. So possibly it still is a good idea, even to just listen to things that you don't 100% understand, because you start hearing like the way that people talk and stuff, but you're not picking up the words, like exactly the words, which is the problem. So I can't say which one's better and which one's not, because you would literally need to get two people doing one thing, and then like the other person does the other, and then you just compare them after like, and it would have to be a long time because it's just not enough time. Like they would have to be doing it for like 6 months each, and then see which one is better. So afterwards, I would listen to just rate, like whenever I had any free time, like oh, I'm going for a walk, I would just stick this on, and I still do that now as well. I'll just stick a podcast on, but the difference is now is that I can understand way more than I could back then. So it makes it a lot easier to just do it. Whereas before, I would just like stick it on, and I would understand like 30-40% maybe, and like just like picking out words. But that was what I was trying to do at the time. Is like I was just trying to pick out words to keep me going. Like, like if I can pick out words, the words that I know, it means that I'm at least learning something. But the way that it is now is like, so I hear it, like when I listen to stuff now, I usually listen to podcasts like or videos or whatever, and so I'll listen to a podcast. This one's dead now, but there was like 100 episode series that I used to listen to of like this one girl talking to like interviewing people who own like companies and stuff like that. Obviously, this is like way above my level, and I would still probably even struggle to comprehend what they're saying exactly now. So that would take a long time. Like it's going to take a long time to understand that level of content. Um, Obviously, it's better to build up slowly, just as like a general rule. So these ones here on the Guangzhou one, they're just like general conversations usually, and then like if it's not really specific, I can understand most of it now. But like sometimes it just feels like you just know that you're not like at a native level or at like a high level, because when they're speaking, it's not instant. Like the understanding is not instant. It's like maybe like 70% is instant, and then there's like the remaining 30% is like they'll say something, but you don't comprehend. You comprehend it, but you don't instantly understand it. So, and then like the other 10% is like words you just don't know, or like expressions you just don't know. And like general conversation is mainly about like expressions, like knowing expressions, and like I think if you really really focus like the learning real life Korean conversation, if you really like learned every single like pattern of conversation, you would probably have an easier time just listening to like just anything, and like all you would be missing is like the verb, because all you're doing is swapping out the verb. So that's it, pretty much it for listening. Oh dear. So that's pretty much everything I've done. Just reading, watching, and listening, and then like I don't really output like at all. So I can write like typing and stuff, and like talking to someone is not a problem. Although the thing is, I have like such a lack of confidence of like what is right and what is wrong, and how exactly is the best way in this situation to express that. And that's what takes so long, is this just knowing what to say and how to express it. But you'll have people who only do output, or like mainly focus on output, and they're just typing what they think is correct, and it's really bad, and they think that they're better than what they are because they don't really, they're getting talked to in a simple kind of way. So the idea is to get your level up from input, to even be able to realize that someone is talking to you in a simplified way. Like once you can realize someone is talking to you in a simplified way, it makes it much easier to be like, you can even call them out on it. Do you know what I mean? Like this is the point of input, is to get your potential up, but at the same time, um, you want to, you know, get better output. So somehow you have to strike a balance, or you can just go full one or full the other. But obviously, one is, as we pretty much know, like one is a bit less effective at becoming good at the language, and one is less effective at becoming fluent in the language, outputting in terms of outputting. So, my levels, right? Um, so overall, I am not where I want to be, which is it's only a good thing. It's literally only a good thing. Like if you are where you want to be, you have no need to, or no desire to improve. So if you are 2 years in and you are where you want to be, there is a chance that you literally are just using Korean to do what you want to do, which is probably have, sorry, which is probably have very simple conversations with people that are talking to you very simply. So my goal is just to understand, like I want to understand, I want to be able to watch a TV show and just understand it, and just understand the whole thing. I want to be able to watch the news and understand the whole thing. So to get to that level is going to take a very long time, and if to get to that level just solely outputting and talking to people is never going to happen, because you're never going to come across the words that you need to. You'll never have the vocabulary you need unless you read or spend a lot of time watching specific content. So if you sat there watching news all day, you would probably get very proficient at the news, to the point where like even you would probably, even when you talk and when you write, you would like have those specific like news talking patterns in your head. So overall, my ability is not where I want it to be, but that is a good thing because it means I can improve. So specifically reading. Okay, so my reading is probably my best skill, and fucking hell. Sorry. So reading for me is probably my best skill. It's probably not even the one that I've done the most. I've probably done listening just as much, but because reading is so easy in Korean, like if this was like a harder language like Japanese or Chinese or something, it would probably still be quite awkward, because when you come across a new, you would still be coming across new characters. So obviously you can't really come across a new character when there's only like 28 letters in the alphabet or whatever. So that makes it really easy to get accustomed to just reading, which is very good. So overall, I would say most things I can understand like 90% at least of like most of what I read now, because I've just built up so many words. Like I know so many words, and especially when I see them, I can recognize the words, and even in the context, like two different words in a different context. Like I know that so many words have different meanings. Like usa has like like doctor and also like will or something like intention, kind of. It's like a cross between those two. Um, so there's like even just knowing, like, I find that most of the things that I come across that I don't know are either alternate meanings or just something I've never ever seen before. Just a random word. Like what did I come across today? Changong. But once you see, you know what it means. Like you just instantly know what it means. So no, it wasn't Changong. It was Chonggong. Yeah. So Chonggong. So Chong blue. Yeah. And then Gong just air. So like, this is just a random word. It's just you're just gonna come across it, and then once you've seen it, most likely you're gonna remember it if it's that simple. But there's some words you come across them 20 times, 30 times, even they're in context every single time, but you just can't comprehend them at the time, and that's just the way it is, and that's just how reading is, and that's just how language learning is. Is you just have to take what you can comprehend and then try and improve slowly over time. But when you come across words, it means that you've seen them. It means that you've become um used to it. You're making that word is now in your head. So that word, you might have to come across it 30 times, 40 times, but you've got the base now. You've got the base, and then all you have to do is hit that one sentence, or I don't know what happens in your brain, but you just hit that one connection in your brain and it just stays there forever. And as soon as you see it, you just know what it means instantly. And there's some words that will have multiple meanings and they will take a bit longer to get to that level. But eventually, through reading, you will get to like the top level. So my reading right now is good enough that I can read what I want to read. So what did I start? I started Dragon Raja today, and I can read that, like, understand what's going on like 90%, and then there's little bits, even the words I don't understand, I can guess like maybe like 40% of the words that I don't know, because I already know Hanja, that, or like words that have that Hanja that's previously used, or like it's a really similar like word, or you can just tell, sometimes you can just tell from the context what it's trying to mean. Like like it has no choice but to mean, okay, that is a good thing because this sentence is talking about him in a way that is good. Like you just have no, like you know what it's trying to say. But obviously you have to build this up slowly, and then I'll talk about that afterwards when I talk about what I would change. So, listening, I actually think I am shit at listening. I am so bad at listening. Like, I would still say, like, I don't know. Sometimes you just instantly understand. I think listening is the hardest skill. I think it's hard in Korean because there's so many words that are like similar. People don't pronounce their vowels exactly 100% all the time, obviously. And people tend to just use whatever vowel they feel like is just like, or like they have a specific way of talking that uses like this kind of vowel, so they'll just use that vowel all the time. And then you have to get used to like instantly recognizing. I think that's the difference between reading and listening is you don't like you can't see exactly what it is, and then number two is like you don't necessarily like you have to understand like literally the whole thing, otherwise you just won't have instant understanding. And this is the difference: when you're reading you don't have to have instant understanding, whereas when you're listening it's so evident that you are not understanding something. Like it's a lot more obvious that you don't understand instantly because you don't understand it. And for me right now it's not at the same level as my English is, obviously, because my English is ridiculously good. Like I can literally hear everything. I can hear things that don't even make sense. Like I can hear things that aren't even there. Do you know what I mean? Like that's how ridiculous my English like listening is, obviously, as a native speaker. I've seen people say they need subtitles for movies and stuff, but no, I don't need subtitles for Scottish movies, Welsh movies, Irish movies. I don't need subtitles for any of that because it's just so clear. Everything is so clear to me. Like any American, Australian movies, like TV shows, whatever, everything is so clear. It's like trying to get my career into that level is like literally gonna take 10 years. Like it has to. There's like literally no way it doesn't take 10 years, because you have to think it's been 28 years. Even if we say 18 years, and you're like perfect, that's 18 years of a language, a single language. Like what we're trying to do as language learners is we're trying to compress 18 years worth of knowledge into like 2 years, 3 years. So obviously language learning is going to take 5, 10 years. It's obviously going to do that. It's so obvious that it's like we just delude ourselves into thinking, oh, we can just learn in like 5 years, man. Like that's not going to happen. You will never ever be on the native level because you just don't have the wide range of every single use of every single word until you've just seen them all. So listening is not where I want it to be, and it probably never will be, to be honest. If we're being serious, it never will be. So that said, I find that when I listen, it's generally what if I know the word, generally I can hear it. And I find that a lot of people speak kind of quick anyway. In like whatever I'm watching, they speak kind of quick. And then if I watch something that is like, I don't know, some K-pop thing or something, they speak so slow. It's like, I don't if you just listen to that, you would be able to build your listening up probably quicker, but it probably still wouldn't. You're like your listening would still suck, but you would just be able to understand that perfectly. If I listen to K-pop content now, like whatever, like if somebody sends a video or something and they talk so slow, it's like you can understand 100% of what is being said because they're just talking so slow, or they talk like super clear. Um, Something else I find is because I've read so many books, like specifically books, not conversations, books, is that when there is audio description or somebody is narrating, it's so clear because I'm so used to seeing things described, like hearing things described, or like I know all the words for like descriptions of like people moving their arms and turning around and stuff like that. Like I've read them so many times, it's like when you hear the audio description or just anyone narrating, and they don't even use common words, they just use words that I've seen a fair few times, and I don't know what it is, but I just understand it so much easier than like conversations. Like if there was a book that was like 100% conversations, you would probably be able to get your conversational like level up so much. And it's like, well, I suppose you could just use webtoon. If you read like loads of webtoons, you would just be able to. Your conversational skills would be a lot higher than if you read books because it's mostly like in webtoons they have mostly conversations. They don't really have the books, do they? They don't have the descriptions. But the problem is there are so many words that are used in regular conversation that are descriptive words, or like it's worth just reading anyway. Just read anything because you'll get your level up. So listening is probably average about 70%, 80%. It honestly depends on the sentence. Like it's literally down to like sentence level because like sometimes you will understand four sentences in a row and then there'll be like a whole sentence. You miss one word and you just don't know what's being said. But you can understand the stuff around that. So it's I don't know. It's hard to rate it yourself. But I'm not listening to easy content. If I watch Peppa Pig, I can understand 100% of Peppa Pig. If I watch a kids' TV show, I can understand 100% of what is being said. Pokemon, what did we watch? The Ghibli movies, understanding so they're so easy to understand. Like literally, like two or three words, don't know, like, but they're so clear. Even when the audio is muffly, it's just so clear what's being said because they just speak so much like simpler and like shorter sentences and everything compared to like say the sitcoms that I'm watching, where they will just literally like either speak like super rapid or like they use like idioms and all this nonsense. Yeah, just like constantly, like all the time. So it really just depends. But overall, it's probably about 80% because there's still so many words that I need to learn and so many like phrases. I think learning more phrases and just giving more time in general, the listening will improve. So reading and listening, okay. Writing, I can write, but not very well. I want to write more. Occasionally, the only things I really ever write are like comments on YouTube, comments on Twitter, something like that. Just any kinds of comments really. Um, so it's not visually very stimulating. Um, so that's the only time I ever really write, and I don't really get corrections. But at the same time, why would anyone want to correct somebody? Like, especially if there's a lot wrong, it doesn't really matter. Like, they will not correct you. If somebody comes up to me and asks me a question in English, I don't really correct them either because there's too much to correct, or because obviously no one wants to correct you. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just what's the point? If you understand the message, then what does it matter? So I think this is one of the things that you kind of need to understand when you're outputting is that people will probably not even understand what you meant, but they will just understand what is being said and then reply to that. Like I've seen people have conversations and like write to people, where they're both replying like two completely different things, and it's just, I don't know. You just have to be able to output to the point where what you can say exactly what you want to say. I'm not there yet. I am going to start trying to, maybe in the future, maybe when I hit 3 years, I want to just start writing more. Like, even if it's just like, I just want to start writing like summaries, or like what I've done, or something like that, just to get writing, like just to write something down. All right. Um, I'll do speaking now, and I did write something out like a little bit, just so I can just say something, just so you can judge my like pronunciation mainly. I have written it myself. No one's checked it, so obviously this is like what I think and what I'm saying. 아, 그럼 말하기는요. 어느새 30개월 넘었지만 아직 유창하지 않아요. 물론 놀란 건 아니에요. 왜냐면 저는 대화를 전혀 안 했거든요. 음, 왜 대화를 연습 안 하냐고 궁금하는 건 맞죠? 그냥 상관없는데요. 그러나 유창이나 되면 대화를 연습해야 돼요. 제 목적은 원어민처럼 말하고 싶은데 생각해보면 아직 3년 남을 수도 있어요. 그래서 아득히 멀었어요. 음, 그럼 제 발음은 어떻게 생각하세요? 한국 사람한테 제 발음 어떻냐고 물어보면 잘 통해요, 이해해요, 라던데 좋은지 나쁜지 어떤 의미가 잘 모르겠어요. 진짜 모르겠어요. 어, 마지막으로 가정을 의지하지 말고 대신에 노력을 신뢰했으면 좋겠어요. 그래요. 영어로 다시 말할게요. 예. Okay. So it's quite long in now, but we're still going. So what would I do differently if I was to go back to the start? Let me change up the visuals a bit. Let's go back to this. Let's get some visuals. All right. So what would I do differently? So the first thing I would do is I would do this picture deck that I started. I'm not sure when I started it, but I will check. So I did actually start it quite early, 2011. So what I would do straight away is whenever you come across a word, if you can find a picture for that, or if you can find a GIF, or just anything that can like remind you of that, just make the picture deck, because the picture deck is so powerful. It's insanely powerful. Like you can add audio if you want to. I wouldn't even add audio. Maybe I would add audio at the start, but like the picture deck is so powerful. Like it's actually crazy. Oh god. So it's actually crazy how powerful the deck is. So here's that Chonggung I was talking about. Like look at that. All you need is one picture. Okay, I can see. And then yeah. So how does I've set mine up like this. So it comes up with the word, and then it comes up with the description. Like maybe you can use a sentence. I was bored of sentence cards, so I just hated that they took so long. So I just started using pictures, like solely pictures. So this is all I use now is pictures. And for me, this is powerful for learning words. Like I'm going to continually see this now for the next like few months, which is great because you're not necessarily always going to come across it in your reading or your watching or your listening. But when you do, you'll be like, damn, seen that this morning in the deck. So I would do that. And then as I said, when did I start reading this? Like 6 months in, after I'd entered all this stuff into Anki, which for you guys now is perfect because you've already got the Anki stuff all done, all sorted. You can just do the Anki decks, like bang them out side by side while you're doing the grammar. So that's going to be easier for you guys, and you don't need to waste time. So what I would do is I would start reading earlier, and I would also I would start these. Right now I recommend Yonsei. Yonsei is so good. Like the first book especially is so simple. You can start that like like less than a week in, you can start that, and you can start reading straight away, because reading is so powerful for gaining vocab, and you just need to see words over and over and over again. Um, so I would start reading earlier, and I would also start reading easier earlier as well. So I would start with the Yonsei, and I would probably go up to about Yonsei 3, and then I would start reading these, and then I would start reading the other books, the set of 50 classic books or whatever. I would just start reading like simple content that is made for children, like straight away, like as quick as you can. Any kind of book series, especially a series of books, would be so good. But to be honest, most of your time is spent like looking for that. But if I was looking for that earlier, I would have found these earlier. So that is one thing I would change. Is, and if you are starting now, I would just, you know what, bang out the Yonsei reader, bang out any kind of graded reader, any kind of kids reading books, whatever. Just get it out, because you need to build yourself up so you can start reading the other stuff, so you can get good quicker. So that's one thing I would change. Um, and then bit personal or whatever, but I would sleep more. Sleep, like there is so many times where I would like be trying to go to bed, and I would be like, oh, I'm gonna listen to a podcast because I need to get better at Korean. Nah, just what you want to do is you want to not think that you need to listen all the time, not think that you constantly need to be doing Korean stuff. What you need to do is sleep at least 8 hours a day, at least. Because there are so many days where I get like 7 hours sleep, 6 hours sleep, or whatever. And it's because I'm just either thinking too much, or I'm trying to do too much, or I'm just going to bed too late. So I would get off the computer and just get off and just go to sleep. Like, you don't need to be doing stuff constantly. Like, I'm always trying to finish something, or I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. Just go to sleep. Like, what are you doing? Just go to sleep. So that's something I would recommend. And also, so while I was watching, especially with no subtitles, this is where you need to just pay attention, because when I was watching and I had no subtitles, I would be trying to like do other stuff, because obviously I can still listen while I'm doing other stuff, but that splits your attention. And so I would be going through vocab books and whatever while I was watching, and that takes away from the point of watching. The point of watching is to hear what's being said. Even if you can't understand what's being said, just hear what's being said, and then maybe you can repeat that, ask people, type that word that you can't understand, type that word into Google, and it will give you the actual word that you're looking for, and then it'll come back. All right. So with all those, that's all I could think of for what I would do different. There's probably more stuff, and I'll probably think of it when someone makes a comment. I'll be like, oh yeah, damn, I would do that as well. All right. So in the future, currently I'm reading Dragon Raja. I'm reading Women에선 그 틀을 막을 수 없다. Yeah. So I'm gonna continue those. That is my current plan right now, is to finish those. So I'll finish those, and what I'm going to do is this Lee Young-do, this guy, legend, yeah, gonna read all his books, because they're all on Ready Select, and this is gonna take me ages. And I'm talking like, this is gonna take me a month. 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 So they're all gonna take me like, how many books? There's 8 books in this one, 4 books in this one book in this one. So each book is gonna take me like 10 to 15 days, and there's like 30 odd books. So we're talking like 6 months. So in 6 months, I should have got through some of these books. I should have got through most of these. All right. So after I finish the one I'm watching, 똑바로 살아라, that's going first, and then 귀엽거나 미치거나. All of these are the same director. I can't remember his name. He's like Bang Kon, something like that. Bang Tuuk, something like that. Can't remember. But either way, so he's the same director that's done High Kick and everything. So I've just decided that, like, the sitcom is my domain. Sitcoms in English, watch loads of them. Love sitcoms. This is like my domain. This guy's pretty funny. He's got a lot of jokes. There's a lot of good episodes. So I'm gonna watch all these, and then when I finish these two, I'm gonna go back and watch High Kick 1, 2, 3, and Kamjibyo, because why not? There isn't, even if you can understand 100%, why would you not want to understand? When you can understand 100%, you can start then paying attention to what is being said, as opposed to like as opposed to, oh, like the words, not what is being said, sorry, the way it is being said. So why is he saying this now? Why is he saying it in that way? You can start asking these questions when you've got like 99% understanding. And then you can also understand the missing words very, very easily. Like, oh, what's that word? Oh, I heard it. So you can hear it as well, because the more you understand, the easier it is to just hear the stuff that you can't understand. So I will continue to that. Maybe when I hit 3 years, I will start writing more. But the thing is, I don't care about conversations because I used Omegle when I was 18, 19. And I am so bored of the same conversation of where do you live? Where are you from? Blah 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 blah. What languages do you speak? Where do you go? All this basic stuff here is so boring to anyone that is like, if you are 18, this is so easy to do because it's like I'm learning or something, yeah, like whatever, I'm doing something like. But being like older, it's so boring to talk to new people. This is like, so I've had this conversation with my girlfriends like a few times. Like, imagine you just like if you break up with someone, imagine trying to find someone else. Like you have to trying to find someone else is like going to take so much effort to have the same basic conversations over and over and over again, which is quite funny because we always watch like some kind of like dating shows whenever they're on Netflix or like Come Down with Me on UK TV. You probably don't know unless you're from the UK, but stuff we just love watching stuff like that. Yeah, even though it's like the actual doing it yourself would be so horrible to like just like when you get to a certain age, you get so bored of just like the same conversation over and over and over. It's like some people love small talk and some people don't. So obviously, if you love small talk into your 30s, then that's on you. But that's not me. So, um, what was I talking about? Future plans, writing. Start writing soon. Get to just try and get some like language out of my brain. Try and get so like I've got all the grammar down, like that kind of stuff. Just keep reading, keep watching, keep listening, keep improving. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. The only reason we're still doing this is to improve. And if you're not improving, there's something wrong. Or you just need to look back because you can't see it, which is most likely the problem. So this video has been extremely long. And oh, yeah, that's one thing. So hopefully I will be able to go to Korea, and then this is good for me because it will force me to output and it will make me output, and I will tell my girlfriend speak to me in Korean all the time because I want to be good at speaking Korean. And I will be able to go out and talk to people in Korean very easily, so this will be very good for me. Which hopefully I'll be able to go for 2 months, 3 months, or whatever. Depends on if I get a job. Obviously, that will be less, so it'll be like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But obviously, with the vaccine passport, we should be able to go. So I think this has been long enough now. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Please leave a comment with what you think. There will be timestamps so you can go to the parts you want. Obviously this is way too late to be saying it, but who cares? So that's about everything. End the video. Keep immersing. That's about it.